And I want to welcome you to another episode of Beyond the Surface Radio. I'm your host, Dr. Wanda J. Evans-Brewer. And this time we have a special edition where we're just kind of looking at the purpose-driven life. A life where you actually focus on achieving some of the goals that you set for yourself in spite of obstacles. I have the blessing and honor to be sitting with Lebrandon Hickey, who just launched his own radio station, and it's called Foreign Exchange, where he focuses primarily on delivering spoken word pieces. I'm sure interviews and other things will come along, but at this point, how many segments do you have?
I have 7 segments.
Actually, episodes.
7 tracks, 7 episodes, 7 podcasts. And it's been a wonderful feeling.
And what makes it wonderful, Lebrandon?
It's wonderful because it's something that I dreamed about doing for, years. Just always rapping, always writing, always expressing myself. And finally getting back to it is definitely, the first 3 days was sickening. Because as soon as I post something, I'm just constantly checking to see how many, plays, how many listens I got, how many followers, and then this the 3rd week, and it's already 16 followers, 445 listens, and for all the pieces that I think are the hottest, they don't do as good, but the ones I least expect, they do numbers like Sudoku.
Okay, well, that's because we know that the art, what is pleasing, appealing,
yes,
exciting, is all relative to the listener. But this is exciting because I started off saying this is a segment about purpose driven, getting back to knowing your purpose and fighting through a lot of inertia to achieve your goal. How did you finally anchor yourself long enough to say, I want this to happen, I'm going to make this happen. This is meant for me?
I mean, after a while of watching, Beyond the Surface Radio function.
Not my little radio station.
Yeah, it's your radio station. Just, being a part of all the interviews, listening to your interviews, and thinking wow, I can do that. I can get the message out there about myself, and anchoring myself down. I just really, put all the things that was important to me in perspective.
Okay, and so one, what I'm hearing you say is that an example, a solid model was set for you.
Yeah.
Okay, and then 2, you had to sift through and decide how to prioritize what really mattered to you.
Exactly.
Okay, and what really matters to you? Because as much as you said this is about you, a lot of your spoken word pieces actually don't talk specifically about you, but actually are easily applied to the general public. Like we all can relate to them.
Yeah.
So how did you prioritize? How did you narrow that down?
I narrowed it down simply because I like the art of expression.
Okay.
And, just being able to express myself has always been a God-given talent. And I realized, talking to one of my cousins a while ago, he always used to say, I'm a hustler. His vision on things is hard work. He just know he has to get his hands dirty. And the way I express myself, he knew he couldn't do. So I like to, talk and share stories and theories and opinions and feelings that people can't necessarily put into a format for the masses to hear, or even if, for their friends and family to hear. Okay. So I take it upon myself to tell their story, because as much as it is my story, it's our story.
Okay. So what I'm hearing you say is that you have a heart for storytelling, and that the people around you provide you with ample information.
All the time.
Okay. And it also sounds like you not only listen, but you process it, and then you like to add what to it? What parts of self do you add to it?
The parts of self I add to it is actually just more or less the deliverance of it. I can take the conversation we had and, just put it in a perspective that is related to anybody that hears it. Anybody that hears can feel like they was there with me when I had this conversation with a particular person. I had one piece that I had with one of my friends, Never Good Enough, and I use our conversation. And I use our conversation in that piece because it really brought in what I thought, how I felt at that moment. Okay. And I wanted everybody to understand, like, this is a guy that I had called my friend for years. Okay. And, he goes through a situation and it's misunderstood and it's unfamiliar. Mm-hmm. And I'm realizing, like, as time goes on, the battles that we fight in ourselves and as we, individually, it's like because we don't understand it.
What's the name of the piece?
The name of the piece is Never Good Enough.
Okay, I heard Never Good Enough. And the one striking line, because we talk about that in poetry, just striking lines that just stand out, is I don't do breakups, I do breakthroughs.
Yes.
And I absolutely love that line because it just speaks to a commitment to people, to relationships, to love. When you say, I don't do breakups, I do breakthroughs.
That was the powerful, process of that piece, because that's what he said to me in the conversation. Mm-hmm. He turned to me and said, bro, I don't do breaks, I just do breakthroughs. And I looked at him and I said, wait, what are you really saying? And he said, you never took a break. Like, anytime you ever stepped up to something, he said, I was right there to get you through it. Mm-hmm. And I was like, but you didn't take a break. We're going to get a breakthrough in this. And I was like, well, bro, like, it's not that serious. No, he said it's very much that serious. Because if you constantly keep taking breaks, what do you have left?
Nothing. You just
nothing. You just keep stopping and starting. Yeah, and that's exactly what he said. So after he said that to me, I said, next week when I, drop, I'm about to use this piece. He said, hey, don't be stealing my stuff. I said, no. Oh, bro, I'm saying every bit of your name in it.
Well, what I like about it is it sounds like part of the reason that you're a great storyteller and that you needed to come back to the venue of spoken word is also that you have a sensitivity to wisdom wherever you find it. Because you have to really have a listening ear to pick up how profound that is. That insight is very profound. We were talking one time about a woman who said, I told you about a friend of mine whose male friend came to her and he said, listen, let's take a break. And you started laughing. And what did you say to me?
I said, men don't do breaks.
And I told you my husband's response was break. You mean break up?
Yeah.
And so it also, that's why I said it speaks to a deeper quality about him, that he's aware that he's the type of man that is in for the long haul. So that's beautiful. Okay, so that's one piece. You've had several pieces. You said that some of the pieces that you think will just really knock their socks off do okay. Other pieces that you think it'd just be okay do phenomenal. What do you attribute this to? What do you attribute it to?
Well, I attribute it to the fact that most of the time it's just raw emotion. It's the fact that you can, give everything to the piece and leave it on the mic. Like, you can leave it on the track. You can leave it on the podcast. You don't have to carry it with you no more. A lot of poets I talk to and a lot of people that I know, it's hard to get back in those feelings again because they don't feel that way anymore.
Okay, I did an interview a few weeks ago with my son who left the spoken word venue, and he was actually, he's a published author. In terms of poetry, he, got his MFA in the creative arts, and then he's a longtime spoken word artist. Like, he actually did go to London. He did some phenomenal stuff, and he walked away from that whole world because of what you just said. He explained, look, by the time I memorized the piece, delivered the piece, I didn't even feel that way anymore, and I hated being locked into that emotional state. Why you don't feel the same way? What is it about you that you do differently, or what is it about your style that you approach the spoken word pieces differently?
Because I leave it in the piece. Like, I know, like, once I'm able to express it in the writing and the performance, that's where it gets left at.
So when you have to deliver it, when you have to do it again, for you, it's not, you're not putting your heart and emotion back in it. All of it was right there.
No, the heart and emotion is always there. The way I'm gonna deliver it is gonna be just as well as the pain when I wrote it. But I don't feel burdened by it no more.
Okay.
Like it's almost like you free now because
he wasn't able to disconnect.
Yeah, you
able to disconnect.
Yeah, I disconnect from it because I know that emotions are temporary. Okay. Feelings are temporary. Like, what I feel about this today might not feel the same way tomorrow.
Right.
My dedication for this tomorrow won't be that, 6 weeks from now. And it's amazing because that's how people, have relationships, friendships, altercations with people. And it was like, you was upset because, the car wouldn't start this morning, but yet you arguing with somebody. Then the next day you see him, telling them sorry and saying, politely want to meet with them again.
You see the temporal piece.
It's just temporary. And that's the good thing about art. Art allows you to, just be what was, a blue period ain't the red period.
Yeah, well, I mean, I can't dispute that. I totally agree with you, but I also understand for some people that they don't want to revisit certain emotional states, that in fact it was such a temporal state, but it was coupled with pain or intensity that they don't want to revisit. So, for example, I've seen people who are actors talk about a particular scene where they have to pretend to die to get, or to pretend to be at a funeral, and that just how emotionally exhausting it is to keep having to revisit those emotions just for takes. Like, the director's like, okay, let's get another take of that. And they're just like, look, I don't want to go back to that emotional state again. So you're saying that you are a bit of a master at cutting it on and cutting it off. That's what I'm getting from this.
Yeah, and I mean, some of them are intense. Like, I have a piece that I'm working on about my father. And the way I deal with it is, to this day, like, I really don't want to deliver it, but it's my deliverance. Like, it's some pieces you can walk away from. Some situations I can just drop and go.
So why not just be a closet poet with some pieces? Why not get it out? Because from what I'm hearing, like you're delivering it because you need to purge. So why not purge it and put it in the file cabinet?
Because
why does it have to be
it's not as much as I like to do it for myself, it's not me. I mean, 25 years on this earth, I've ran into so many people that tell me their story, their experiences. I mean, from the homeless to the wealthy, from the trains to the planes, from the rental cars to the buses. Like, I run into people with awkward.
You have to put
it because everybody. I realized how many times I was talking years ago. I was talking with this one girl, and she was telling me, "I don't know struggle." She's like, "Your mother worked." Like, my mother's a crackhead. I said, "My dad is too." And she was like, "What? Yo, wait, hold on." She stopped the conversation for a minute, and she was like, "Wait, but you don't look like." I said, "I don't look like what? I don't look like the struggle. I don't look like I'm depressed about it. I'm content with it. What I don't look like?" And she's like, "I just would never known your dad, did that type of lifestyle." I said, "Well, he did. That ain't me." I said, "Yeah, but that's the reason that's the reason I tell the stories, because people look at each other and assume that one, grass is greener than the other, when in fact we mowing the same line."
We're all having our own unique human experience. All right, so what do you see in the, as we talk about the purpose driven, your life being very purpose driven, okay, and so much so that you feel the need to tell these stories and to allow other people to connect and sort of work through, it sounds like, to work through their own inertia. All right, why is this your purpose? Where did this purpose come from, or when did you know? I'm asking you why. I'm asking you two questions. Why and when did you know this was where life is going to take you? Answer the why first. Why do you have to do this?
I have to do it because this is my peace of mind. Like, this is what saves me. Like, your son disconnect from it, how he couldn't disconnect from it. I can never disconnect from these stories. Mm-hmm. I just can't. Like, I will forever walk out these doors and somebody will tell me their story, and then
This is a God-given responsibility. This has been deposited in you, and you would have to do it anyway.
I would have to do it anyway in some form or another. When did I know? I knew when I was in 7th grade.
Okay.
I knew when I was in 7th grade, and I was. I've always loved music. Music has been me since I was a kid. My uncle was a DJ. Okay. So anytime, I go downstairs, grab his mixing board, mess with his stuff, all types of stuff. And in 7th grade, September 11th happened.